It's time to take a ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive with our co-hosts, Alan Saunders and Zachary Smith.
Welcome into another episode of Steelers Afternoon Drive. I'm Zachary Smith. That means that is Alan Saunders. Alan, what is going on?
It's the Steelers afternoon sit in traffic right now. That's what we're doing. Not really driving. But, hey, that's what we're here for, so I guess I can't really complain about it. You know, that's why we wanted to have an afternoon show to give you all something to listen to on your ride home and to be able to react to the things that happen during the day right away and not have to wait till the next morning. So, here we are.
Well, this was my reaction when I went on to X and saw that Trenton Thompson said he was going to be starting on Sunday. That was my reaction to that for anybody watching. For anybody that's just listening to this, all I did was put my thumb and index finger on my chin.
The emoji,
yeah.
You know.
Yes.
Man, that's there's a tangent here that I'm not sure I want to go into, but yeah. Trenton Thompson, who I enjoy very much speaking with, joined the Steelers mid-training camp, had been with the Tennessee Titans. Remember, back in training camp, right, there was that week or two where, like, Minkah was at home dealing with his family situation. Casey was hurt. Neal was hurt. Trey Norwood was hurt. They didn't have any safeties, right? And then, like, they signed Trenton Thompson, and he played, like, every rep of first-team defense, him and Kenny Robinson, for like a month. And then, ended up in the practice squad. Was called up and played last week. Was in the game on that last drive after Neal got hurt. Missed an assignment on that last drive while Neal got hurt. Led to that game being a lot closer than it needed to be. We'll see if he's ready to go. That is quite a job if he is replacing Keanu, Neal, and Minkah Fitzpatrick as a starting safety alongside Demonte KZ. I mean, I like him. I think he's a good player, but that is a large jump from guy who's been on the practice squad all year to starting safety, playing basically every down.
Life can come at you very fast in the NFL, and Trenton Thompson is a testament to that. Yeah, I mean, the Keanu Neal. So, full disclosure, I didn't necessarily expect Minkah to be back for this game.
We talked Wednesday that we thought that was unlikely.
Yeah, but Keanu Neal's the interesting one because he spoke to the media after the game, and that's normally a sign that you're okay. He said as much. Him not practicing, I didn't necessarily think much of on Wednesday, but now with this being out, TA called him a game time decision. Trenton Thompson saying he's going to start. I would say that we're probably on the less than 50% side of seeing Keanu Neal even in this game. I mean, you're really getting thin. Like, you're talking about Trenton Thompson here, but even so Elijah Riley's going to play again. Could Darius Rush actually? We just got a question from X as I'm speaking right now about Darius Rush getting a hat this week. Like, what do they do on the back end of things here if they're also out Keanu Neal?
Well, there isn't anybody else to get a hat this week. I mean, last week Thompson was active. I guess Jalen Elliott is the other safety that's on the practice squad. But I mean, I would expect Darius Rush will get a helmet. I don't expect that he's going to play much like the Packers. The Browns are not a 4 wide receiver team, and they are a spread you out and run against you anyway team. So I think this will be I expect Elijah Riley to be the dime defender again this week, like he was last week. I don't think that will change. But I expect Rush will probably get a hat just because I don't know who else is going to if he doesn't, unless maybe they're just going to try to play short one defensive back. But, it doesn't seem like they have a fifth inside linebacker ready to go, so I don't really know who else would be playing. So, I expect Rush will play. But probably not play unless somebody gets hurt. Riley, I think, will be the dime defender, and then the nickel will be some combination of Riley, Patrick Peterson, and Shannon Sullivan like it was last week.
Yeah, man, really getting thin on the back end there, and we've already seen them get thin at inside linebacker. So this is
well, I mean,
crazy.
we talked about Keanu Neal potentially being an option for pass down linebacker. He's certainly not an option if he doesn't play, you know. So I mean, I think you can sort of at this point, like even if he does happen to play, he hasn't practiced it at all. Like I would assume that he would not at this point be playing any linebacker, even if somehow he does play.
Right.
So you can pretty much go with E-Rob and Mark Rob, twin linebackers. Like feels like that's the guys, and there's not really anybody else.
Yeah, I really don't think this could be overstated too. We've obviously touched on it, but I feel like they are very fortunate with the opponent that they have this week to have another week before they see Cincinnati, and that those two opponents are not flip-flopped or anything like that. Because this opponent specifically, I'm not trying to like take them for granted and say this is 100% a win for the Steelers or anything, but just the style of football that they're going to play, I feel like lends its hand to the Steelers situation.
It's 100% a game that you feel comfortable with Elandon Roberts on the field 100% of the time. And that's what's going to happen, I think. I expect that Elandon Roberts is not going to leave the field in this game. And it's a game where I think, especially compared to Cincinnati, especially compared to some other games, you feel not so bad about that. You know, is that going to be the case every week? No, but this week it doesn't seem so terrible.
Not only are they getting hurt at inside linebacker, at safety, their special teams coordinator, Danny Smith, torn rotator cuff.
We talked to Danny today. I had requested him, and he doesn't usually speak unless we ask for him. But, you know, I felt like him being such a central part of that brawl at the end of the Packers game made it worthwhile talking to him. And, man, he didn't disappoint. Danny's always great, first of all. But, like, he said he's tore his rotator cuff in 3 places. You can see his hand is all cut and torn from getting stepped on.
My goodness.
He got messed up. And he said he couldn't get up. Like, he couldn't put weight on his shoulder to lift himself up. So, Rodney Williams, man, like, you kind of wonder if, like, Pat Freiermuth's coming back, like, right, does Rodney keep a spot? And Danny said, like, I'm going to have a hard time sitting that guy down now. Like, you got to save my butt. Like, is there a better way to secure your spot on the lineup as a special teamer than saving the special teams coach from serious injury the week before? Like, it's going a long way there. So props to Hot Rod for looking out for Danny Smith. But yeah, I mean, Danny, he's incredible. He's been coaching for 47 years. And Brooke Pryor of ESPN asked him, "Was that the hardest you ever been hit?" And he goes, "Oh, well, you know, I got hit at a Clemson Georgia Tech game, and I broke my leg, and I have a plate and 6 screws in my knee from that. And then Antonio Brown hit me in training camp, and I broke a rib and a vertebrae in my back and my finger. That hurt. This one hurt. I don't know." I'm like, and then, of course, like the kicker to the story, which is the best part, is he didn't lose his gum. You know, all that didn't lose his gum.
Absolutely
of course,
not.
Have you ever seen the camera find Danny Smith on the sideline during a game? He's always chewing on a big wad of, I don't know. I got to find out what kind of gum he chews, but it's a big wad of bubble gum, always in his mouth, chomping away. Danny is one of the great characters in football, and I really enjoyed covering him. And what a tough dude, man. He's just standing there like, yeah, tore my rotator cuff 3 places. Is what it is. Probably get surgery this offseason, whatever. But man, you'd see me on a big casts like rookie of the year, right? Where it's like the whole arm, and I'd just be like in a wheelchair unnecessarily, trying to milk that for all it's worth. Not Danny, man. He's a tough cat.
DTR is not him. Danny Smith is him. That's what I'm finding out right now.
DTR is not him. I wrote on the site today Kevin Stefanski's sort of reasoning for playing Dorian Thompson-Robinson this game, which I am just going to go on the record as I think is going to be a mistake. He was dreadful in that game against the Baltimore Ravens, and Kevin Stefanski's reasoning was, well, he was good in the preseason when he actually got to prepare as a starter, and he kind of knew he was going to play. And this time he kind of got, like, thrust into it at the last second, and we want to see what he's capable of when he actually gets to prepare like a starter. I'm like, that's fair, but man, does he like to turn the ball over. And these games are always about turnovers. Like, this is going to be, like, for all the optimism about the way the Steelers have run the ball the last 2 weeks and sideline Canada and fourth quarter Kenny and, like, this offense kind of looking like it has a pulse. Like, this game could be 9-2. That's where I'm at right now. Like, this is going to be the over-under with Deshaun Watson out of the lineup fell 6 points to 32.5. And if you put a gun to my head and made me bet it, I would not even think twice about saying under. Like, this is just going to be an ugly Cleveland's defense is really, really good. Pittsburgh's defense should eat this offense alive. DTR is going to give you the ball. Like, the Steelers just got to hope Kenny doesn't turn it over, that they don't put the ball on the ground, and they can do just enough. But this is going to be an ugly, ugly football game. I'm kind of here for it. I enjoy ugly football. I enjoy AFC North football. It's all about toughness and defense, and I think this is going to be that kind of game for sure.
Yeah, I got before it moved, and I don't even bet on the Steelers ever. Like, I'll do player props, but I don't bet on the team. But I got Steelers money line and the under before it moved. So it's like plus 255 or something like that is what I got that at. But in a game like this, that really magnifies the importance, I think, of your kicker. Chris Boswell has been fantastic all year. We haven't really talked about him much on here. Just the one missed kick, and it was after that penalty against Jacksonville, which is his only miss.
Perfect under 60 yards, which is like a funny thing that we have to note. Like, oh, well, and Boz doesn't really talk to the media. Basically, he will talk to the media after a game, like if he hits like a game winner or something like that. Like the kick is really vital in the game. He will talk to us after a game, but like during the week, he doesn't really talk to the media. He kind of has like a different practice schedule than everyone else, so he's usually kind of gone before we get into the locker room because like the special teams guys end practice sooner than the specialists are done before the rest of the team is. So we don't really get to talk to Boz very much, and I took the opportunity to talk to Danny Smith today just to hear him out about like what Boz is doing this year, because I think like he's been really, really good. Like he's been like the best he's been, and I think you can make a legitimate case for him to be the AFC's Pro Bowl kicker right now. Like I think he's been that good, and I don't think enough people are really talking about it.
I agree. I mean, he is to me right now the best kicker in the AFC. Like I said, he should be perfect on the year. He gave it to the officials in that game for ruining his perfect season up to this point. But yeah, I mean, I
really honestly kind of hope he misses one, just so that's not the only thing keeps him from a perfect season, because that would be like really, really that'd be tough to swallow.
I saw a clip though, Alan, of something that he was doing before practice, and it looked like it was something I don't remember. Is it something that he hasn't done before? Did he add something to his
so Danny said, Boswell wasn't really healthy last year. He missed a bunch of time. And Danny Smith said like he went out and did a bunch of research this offseason about like what the kickers that kick the most have been doing and how they've been staying healthy. And they really changed the way that Boswell is practicing this year. So he is kicking more on Wednesdays and Thursdays than he has been in the past. More volume to try to keep his strength up. And then not kicking at all Fridays, Saturdays, and really not even putting a lot of effort before the game to just like to build up his strength during the week, but then be really rested for game day. And they think that is going to keep him healthy throughout the course of the year. And Danny said, it was like one of those things where he wasn't sure how he was going to react. Kickers and other athletes like that are very superstitious about their routine, especially guys whose job is so mental, and you don't want to like mess with a guy's head, right? And Danny really gave Boz a lot of credit for embracing that change and sticking with it, and said he thinks it's been really made a big difference.
I mean, I think the proof's in the pudding on this one. I would agree. So you're saying it was Danny Smith, not Chris, that kind of implemented this regiment?
Yeah, Danny basically went and did the research, and he took it to Boswell and said, here's what I see that we could do differently. Here's how I think you could be better. And Bos embraced it and went with it, which I think is really very cool and quite a credit to both of them that they were able to come up with that. And, I mean, like, I think he's got more – like, that 60-yarder was – he's got more leg now than he did earlier in his career. Like, he's not you know, he's getting better as he's gotten older. I think that's really impressive.
Yeah, I would agree. Before we get to some questions, I guess I'd be remiss if there was anything that you got from Matt Canada or anything today with the coordinator speaking before we dive into that.
No, Nick talked to TA and got a little news about the two safeties.
Right.
I talked to Matt Canada and I talked to Danny. Matt had relatively little to say today. We talked very briefly about just what to do with the extra tight end. You know, we talked about that yesterday about, you know, will they
we actually
play
got
more
a question
12 personnel
regarding about that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let's actually just go to that right now because I mean, Matt didn't really answer the question that I posed to him, and I think it's actually kind of interesting, which is like in 11 personnel specifically, like, Darnell Washington is quite a cheat because that's a light package, but then you have this mammoth tight end that is the blocking part of it. You know, like. Yeah, it's like you have 3 wide receivers on the field, so let's get Nickelback in there and let him get smashed by a guy the size of an offensive lineman. Like, it's a pretty good matchup for them. I don't think he really understood what I was going with in terms of the question. I didn't ask it very well. And then I didn't really get much of an answer. But what's our reader's question? I'll try to do a better job of answering.
So, regarding the tight end stuff, I mean, we've kind of touched on this, so I feel like it's an extension of yesterday's conversation. But will Muth's return hurt the run game in our minds?
I think there is a chance that could happen. Like, especially if they play a lot of 12 personnel, which they've played before, and the response is extra linebackers or extra defensive linemen in the game, I don't really think that's a win for the Steelers. You know, if the Browns are in nickel and you have Darnell Washington against a nickel package, I like that better for the Steelers than if the Browns are in base defense and you have both Freiermuth and Washington in the game. I also think Allen Robinson's blocking has really gotten better alongside that, to the point that now I feel really good about that running package. We said yesterday, I don't expect Pat Freiermuth to play more than about half the snaps in this game, kind of no matter what. Guy coming back from the hamstring, it's not going to be very warm. You're going to want to take it easy on him. So I don't really think it's going to be an issue this week, but I am very interested to see like how the running game is impacted and what that means for the playing time at tight end going forward. Because if they bring him back and they struggle to run out of 12 personnel again, like, I think you have to make a real decision then about how much you want to play Freiermuth versus Washington in single tight end sets.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm glad that you said that because that's kind of where I was going to go with it too. Is like I don't think it has to hurt the run game, but it could if they let it. Meaning, you know, if they don't. Again, this is more of a bigger picture thing because of Freiermuth, how his reps could look this week. But if you get to the point where you're kind of forcing Freiermuth on the field just because he is the de facto tight end one, even though it kind of goes against what the identity you found and the recipe of success that you've had running the football, then yeah, I think that it could hurt things, but I don't think it necessarily has to if you divvy up the reps correctly.
And look, that recipe isn't going to work every week either. You know, you're going to get behind in some games, and then you can just pretty much play Freiermuth the whole rest of the game at that point. You know, like that's going to happen too. So I think it's probably going to be pretty game dependent, but I could definitely see there be times the rest of this year where they decide that Washington is going to play over Freiermuth in single tight end sets.
Yeah, which is crazy to think. Like, you know, we were all in panic mode about Darnell playing behind Connor and even Rodney Williams just a couple weeks ago. And now this is the conversation. But this one's about Kenny. Shappy at Shap19 says, if you could tell Kenny 2 things to try to get him in the passing game going, what would you tell him?
I don't know.
I guess we're Mike Sullivan.
Time, and I have that ability, but I don't know that anything I could tell him would make any bit of difference. Like, I could literally go tell Kenny whatever 2 things I could tell him tomorrow. I don't know that I have anything that would help. I don't like. I think I don't think Pickett is like. It's just a process. Like, I don't think there's. Be patient. That's one of them. Like, I just think things are happening.
Yeah,
he's going to get better. He's not a finished product. Anybody that's written him off at this point right now is an idiot. Like, stop. He's playing 30, and certainly players in their first and second year get a lot better. And so I think that's really it. Like, I don't think there's no magic bullet here. Like, it's just work,
right.
Process, time, reps. Like, that's really all it is.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. That's the thing. Like, I appreciate the question from Shappy here, but like, if it were that easy, we would already be seeing it. You know what I mean? Like, if we could just tell him 2 things to improve the passing game,
I don't really
we'd be
think
seeing
that
it.
the Steelers have done a great job of like surrounding Kenny with elite level quarterback coaching. But like, if there were 2 things to say, I'm pretty sure Mike Sullivan would have said them by now. Like, it's just, I don't.
Yeah. Well, when you said about the be patient for the fan base with him, I thought you were saying that for Kenny himself, because I think at times too, things are moving too fast for him in his head, and he needs to be patient as well.
Well, I think he should just be patient with like, don't get discouraged. Like, that's all I would say. Like, to Kenny, like, just keep going. Like things aren't going well right now. He's smart enough to know that things aren't going well right now. I thought it was a great answer, by the way. He talked yesterday, and he was asked, Mike Tomlin on Tuesday said he certainly needs more out of Kenny Pickett. And someone asked him, like, what does it mean to hear that? And Ken was like, I don't need any external motivation to be better. I was just like, that is such a great answer. Like, and that is the reason that I have always believed that I think Kenny Pickett will be a good NFL quarterback. I'm not sure he's going to be great, but I think he will be a good NFL quarterback because I have seen the level of commitment, work ethic, self-motivation, leadership. Like, he's going to get it. It might take him longer than people want. It might take him longer than the Steelers are willing to wait. But I very strongly believe that he is going to figure things out and become a good quarterback. Now, like, he's not perfect. He's got lots of faults. He's not an elite athlete. He doesn't have elite arm talent. He's not going to be Ben Roethlisberger. He's not going to be, Peyton Manning. He's not going to be even like Jalen Hurts probably. But like, he can be a good quarterback and a winning quarterback for this team. But he's got things to work on. There's no question about that.
Let's talk about somebody from that same draft class that came in with him, because we actually got 2 questions about DeMarvin Leal, which is interesting, from Gavin Bowser and Joe Frick. What's the deal with Leal? I know they don't dude barely is seeing the field anymore. Going into his final season at A&M, he was a pretty high projected pick. That was from Joe. And then Gavin said, why have the snaps for DeMarvin Leal decreased over the course of the season, even with injuries along the way, including Adams, Cam, etc.? So kind of, in the same boat there in terms of Leal's snaps continuing to diminish.
It's just a lot of matchup stuff. He really is he's not limited in what he can do, because he can do almost every job on the defensive line except for play nose tackle. But I think he is really best at playing end in the base defense. That is really his best position. And they just haven't done a lot of that these last it's all opponent driven. Mike Tomlin was asked, do you want to, without your linebackers, you're going to play more sub packages? And his answer was like, not against Cleveland, because they play sub packages against them. They're going to run the ball down our throat. Like, we can't just decide to play whatever package fits our fits our agenda. You have to play you have to match personnel in response to what the other team is doing. And I just think that guys like Benton, who are more interior players, more like a defensive so when I write, I call them nose tackles, defensive tackles, and defensive ends, right? You have the noses in 3-4. You have the tackles in the 4-man front, which is what the Steelers play in nickel and dime. And then you have the ends in 3-4. And like, Leal's really only doing one of those 3 jobs right now. And that's okay. We'll see like where things go, but I don't really think it's any kind of. I think if you want to be critical of that draft pick, I think it's probably that like they used a pretty high pick for a role that they don't really use that much. Like they've talked a lot about like, we don't want to spend a lot of resources on a nose tackle. Well, you spent like a pretty good amount of resources on a defensive end in your base defense that you use just as much as you use as a nose tackle. So like, kind of what gives. But I don't think it's necessarily like an indication that they're unhappy with Leal or anything like that. I just think it's been about opportunities for the role that he is best suited to play.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. We got another one here. What do we know about Trenton Thompson?
He hits hard, and if you're safety and you do one thing well, I like that to be the thing. He's got good length. When I look at the Browns and I see a guy like David Njoku, that's my guess as to the reason that he is in the game, is that you need a long, athletic guy to stay with a tight end like that. And I think Thompson kind of fits that mold. He has better, I would say better man coverage and box safety skills than like center field kind of stuff, So I think he's a Steelers kind of player. I think he kind of reminds me of like Terrell Edmonds light in a lot of ways. Not that he's lighter, but like maybe not quite as good, but the same kind of skill set as Terrell Edmonds. And I think he's a good fit for what they need this week, especially against Njoku.
San Diego State, not necessarily a ton of guys in the league that come out of there.
On the Steelers, all the Aztecs on the Steelers, him and KZ, they will have what has to be the first all San Diego State Aztec starting safety duo. And of course, Luke Barku, also San Diego State, is on the practice squad. And they had like 5 of them at training camp.
Yeah.
Bill Dunkel. I think there's another one too. It was San Diego State. Jordan Byrd, the wide receiver, kick returner. So they had 5 in training camp, down to 3, but 2 of them starting at safety.
Really going into the Rolodex there to come up. I wouldn't have thought of Jordan Byrd like that, but I mean, also played a ton of games in college. Actually, most games played in San Diego State history with 57.
He also played against Dorian Thompson-Robinson in college.
There we go.
They played
how awesome.
I want to say 18 or 19.
How awesome would it be if he got a pick on Sunday?
It'd be quite
people
awesome.
Don't even know who he is, and and we'll finish off with a funny one here. If you could only pick one Steeler to be your backup in a bar brawl, who would it be?
I want you to go first on this one.
Actually, and the person said I'm going with Minkah, and I'm guessing it's because of Minkah maybe saving DeMonte KZ from also missing this game for a different reason on Sunday.
Yeah, I want your thoughts on this first.
You know what? Maybe it's just me buttering him up because, we've talked about him a lot on here. Hope to get him on here at some point. I heard he knows who I am now, but I'm going with E-Rob.
I think E-Rob is a solid answer. Also, like, here's so I think most people are going to approach this question from like who's big and tough and scary, and there are certainly big and tough and scary guys on the team all over. But listen, if I want someone specifically to be my backup in a bar fight, that means that I have to want to be at the bar with that guy. Like I'm not going to want to bring some like I'm not like singling someone out by this. Like I don't want to bring some giant like lunkhead that's no fun, just sits there like a bump on a log just in case I get into a fight in the bar. Like I want to bring someone who's a good time that then also, we can roll if we have to roll. Like that's what I'm looking for here. And I think E-Rob's a really good answer. I don't really know that I'm going to be able to come up with a better one than that. I'm going to think about it for a second here. Like, here's why. Like, okay, TJ Watt certainly could wreck some guys in a fight. TJ's like the grumpiest, dullest guy. Like, I don't want to go to the bar with TJ. Like, he's kind of just dry. He's boring. Like, I don't want that. That's not where I'm at. Linebacker in general, though, is a fruitful place if you're looking for, like, I'd love to know, like, someone needs to do a study, like, which NFL position is most likely to get into, like, a fight. I bet it's linebacker. I bet linebacker is number one. In fact, I was talking to Landon Roberts about this a couple of weeks ago, and one of the reasons why he's expressed some interest in joining and coming on a podcast and showing his personality a little bit is he's like, I just want people to get to know me a little bit. I'm getting older. I need to look at like where things are going after my career, and I want to see how people react to me. And he's like, I think generally people see the way I play and just think I'm like an a-hole. And I'm like, well, linebacker, I just kind of assume like that's like kind of comes with the territory, right? Like the Steelers have a rare collection of linebackers in that none of them is really truly a jerk. Like there are no like generally you got at least one linebacker on your team that's like, don't go around that guy, he'll mess you up. Like they're a pretty easygoing group for that position. That is not typically the way they are. All right, Landon Roberts is an excellent answer. And I'm not even really going to say mine is better, but I want to come up with another one. Larry Ogunjobi is like a dude that I would not want to meet in an alley. Like that is like he has some violence to him that I really appreciate. And I think Larry would be a good time at the bar as well. So that's my answer. I think you picked probably the best choice with Landon Roberts, though. Those are two good options. What about? We're over, but whatever. What about if you had to pick an offensive player?
Because that's the thing. Honest, like I immediately went to defense first.
Defense is where the real butt kickers are. What if you had to pick an offensive player?
Darnell.
That's a solid choice. I think I'm taking Jaylen Warren. Like, there is a level of fearlessness.
We went total opposite ends of the spectrum there. Yeah.
There is a level of fearlessness with Jaylen Warren. Like, it does not matter who I'm fighting. He's sticking his head in there. Like, he's got me no matter what. That I really appreciate. If he can hit as hard in the bar as he does in NFL games, like, you don't get fined there. It's fine. It's all legal, or none of it's legal, but whatever. So I'll go with Jaylen Warren. He plays offense like a defensive player. Let me just say that.
And if we're looking for somebody to start the bar fight, I'm picking George Pickens.
Ooh, no? See, starting has to be like a trash talker. Who starts the fight? DeMonte Casey. That's my fight starter. Absolutely. Is who gets us in the fight? Yeah, Casey, 100%.
It'd be funny, like if we just did an entire episode of like superlatives, stuff like this.
We do have like an entire off season with nothing else to talk about. So we'll we'll get to those, I'm sure.
I guess so. Alan, tell the people where they can find you.
At @Saunders_PGH on X, at PGH Steelers Now is the site's account. SteelersNow.com is where my words live. Read them so I can get paid. Steelers Now Plus, you get 10% off using the promo code Allen10 and read all the best stuff for myself, Derek Bell, Nick Farabaugh. Derek's got another story coming up today or tomorrow morning about the Steelers running game and why it's been better. I also talked to Jalen Warren about that today, and I got a story on that coming out tomorrow as well. So go there and check it out. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And see us again tomorrow.
Boom. There we go. Like Alan said, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell as well so you know when we post a new episode of this. Sights and sounds, practice, all that good stuff, all the content that gets put on the channel.
You got Boz kicking up there. You got Deontay Johnson back at practice.
Yeah, I referenced the Boswell stuff earlier. There's literally a video of it happening on the YouTube.
There you go.
So comment down below. We read some comments today. We get some questions from X, as we always appreciate. If you're listening somewhere else, be sure to leave us a 5-star review over there, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc., etc. I am Zachary Smith, PGH, for Alan Saunders and myself. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Steelers Afternoon Drive.